global prosperity is that we have to change from the inside out. And of course, in school, well, the way how we were educated is that we have to change a lot in the outside world, and hopefully once that outside world will respond to us in how we want it. And we also work very hard in school to get a kind of approval from the outside world. But what we learn in quantum is that everything begins with an observer. So you have this beautiful experiment, that's the double slit experiment, where what they notice is when they shoot particles through two slits, then what happens is that that if they shoot it and there's no observer there, then they just see a pattern wave of potential. But when they shoot particles and they put an observer, for example, a measurement instrument, it becomes matter. So actually what that means is, very simple said, is that there's only matter when something is looking. When you could call it an observer, you could call it consciousness or measurement or whatever, but there's only matter because of somebody is observing. And of course, in all of us, we all have an observer, and we have to learn to work with that observer to change something in the outside world. For example, if you have like a huge, let's say from a very young age, you have an issue, you have learned that money is very hard work, and you really have to work very hard to earn a lot of money. Now, if you believe that, and if you have seen that by everybody, by your parents, maybe the school has said that too, and you have to work because you have to have good credits, and once upon a time, then you will have a certificate, and then maybe once you will have enough savings to do whatever you want to do in life. And if you retire, maybe then you can follow your dream. That's like a very short summary of how we often live our life. Then of course we think that something has to come from outside of us, and something has to approve us to follow our dreams. And what we now can learn also from quantum science, but just by living it also, is that all comes from within. So let's say for education, this would mean that 80% of education should be about personal development, because it has such a big consequence on your life, also on your relationships, how you communicate, the results that you will get with people. Yeah, that's so important. So that's very important, I think, to create at first. So there will be no peace on earth until everybody has peace inside. So we have still a lot of work to do. And of course, the more we feel abundant inside, the more we will create this global prosperity. And of course, you can also create systems for global prosperity. But if we are all as humanity in a survival mode, then we will create more struggle.
Yes, thank you. Roy, what's your opinion about how to create global prosperity?
Well, first, let's begin with what's wrong with our planet right now. We have what they call a cannibalistic kind of capitalism, where we're taking, accumulating, and so there's no flow, there's stagnation. If you look at the rich people of this planet right now, and I'm not going to blame them for anything, it's just a system. It is taking, and buy big boats, big houses. If you look at the millionaires and billionaires, they have the worst carbon footprint on the planet. Some billionaires can have a carbon footprint from a whole community or even sometimes a village. So the system that we are existing in and the way we are being programmed by the system is wrong. And for example, if you look at the continent of Africa, which is a very rich continent, you know, the capitalism comes in, takes, and the Africans literally stay poor, and then we pretend to send them some help because we're such good people, while they're the richest resources in the world. So the capitalism is cannibalistic. And then if you look at the definition of success, the definition of success at all costs is not sustainable. Most people are focused on themselves. So we have first let's call them the richer people, But let's go now to the middle class. And the middle class is focused on itself. And a lot of people will make choices with their wallet. So you go into a supermarket, you buy the cheapest stuff possible, but you don't support the planet by buying biological products, things that are not, let's say, treated with pesticides, all those kind of things. We are consumers, and the consumers have become the problem. So, and the consumers often will blame the rich people, but let's start looking at ourselves. What are we doing? Are we willing to go to the extra mile? People who have the money don't buy electrical cars. Why not? Because they say gas cars are cheaper. So we're not willing to invest in, I call our planet a spaceship we live on. So if we don't change that attitude, then this world will continue on this path of self-destruction. So we are become the cancer of this planet. I'm talking a little bit in medical terms. So we need to change the attitude of taking into the attitude of giving. And that's where quantum science comes in. Because if you're going for 1 million in quantum science, and you're going to do it with grace, ease, and joy, because that's a quantum science principle. Hard work is willpower, and that goes against nature. So people work hard, are working on willpower, they destroy themselves, they go for the success they believe they want. And then, a lot of them come in treatment like people like me because they're burnt out and they're tired, the relationships are terrible, and their health is gone, they're not happy. This is the current state. Now, in my own field, we have, for example, Big Pharma, and Big Pharma is totally not interested in the well-being or wellness of humankind. They're only interested to make profits for their shareholders at all costs. They are fraudulent in the science. They create false science that are, that's not even scientific. We were in the midst of this pandemic where you can see all this phenomena happening right in front of us. We have Big Pharma work with Big Tech, work with the governments, and they're becoming what I would say more kind of dictatorship, creating lockdowns and breaking down the economy and taking away people's right. For example, I've been censored, blocked to speak, to give people advice how to keep the immune system, let's say, healthy and how to protect themselves against COVID, why they should not get vaccinated, and so on and so on. So we are in the old economy, and now we're talking about the new normal, which is absolutely more, I would say, of the stuff we're already doing. So it is time that especially the small entrepreneurs, that they become aware. We need conscious entrepreneurs on this planet who are willing to give back, willing to be the change, like Gandhi said, to be the change you want to see in the world. Most people talk, but they don't really make a difference. They still, they still will do the little things, no plastic, whatever. But we will not go the extra mile. So prosperity can only come when we all together take the responsibility also for the countries where there's no proper education, and that's why I love working with Briony as well, because she comes also from that field. And we want to come with a new kind of education where we teach children already a different type of mindset, not about hard work, but really to work together, co-create a world where we all thrive. And that is what is needed. So it's not just about entrepreneurs. We need to really radical change medicine. We need to change the economy. We need to change the, how do you say that, the food industry. We need to change education, but it all starts with step one, and that's ourselves. And that's what Briony and I are really putting our hearts into, to share with as many entrepreneurs as possible these ideas to start this movement of creating this new global prosperity.
Yeah, and Larissa, so when Roy was telling, what I wanted to add to that is that where it also very starts a lot, and whatever you do in life, that's with the dream you have, the dream you can visualize for yourself. Because me and Roy, we work a lot around the technique of quantum dreaming, and that's that you actually first visualize how you see the world, or how you see yourself thriving in that world, and that you already feel it in advance. So you experience it with all your senses. That's actually what also this quantum experiment, what I was referring to in the beginning, means is that if you already experience it and feel it as if it has already happened, then what happens is that you give a push to the energy to create it in reality. And so also for whatever that happens in the world, we see a lot of things happening, we hear a lot of things on the media, but what is so important is what you believe and what you dream about what will happen on the world. Because the more people dream about global prosperity and where everybody lives in a thriving world, the more people believe in that and feel that it's already happening and act like it's already happening, the more we all then go out of this survival mode more in a co-creative way, the more this creates a ripple in the quantum field, and this creates more reality in the quantum field. So, but of course, if we all believe that there's an apocalypse happening and that sooner or later everybody will die and there will a big disaster, and if we really believe that as humanity, then it's like as if we are choosing that destiny. So it's very important that we're very aware about what we're choosing as a destiny to live in. And the destiny you choose is the destiny what you dream and what you believe and what you feel. So it's so important to bring us in that, let's say that state of destiny where we believe in. And I'm curious for people here in the room, if what do they believe? Where are we going towards to?
Yeah, so if you want to join us, please raise your hand, and then we let you on stage and you can ask your questions. I will just reset a little bit the room. Let's say give a short summary of what we are talking about. So I'm talking with Briony. She's from Belgium, and she's co-creating with Roy in business training, doing more in life effortless and growing your business without destroying the planet. Roy, as a holistic doctor, he spent years in developing techniques in how the mind works to match your frequencies. And he says that the quantum universe is infinite. So he wants to use these laws to expand. The message is that you can do everything you want, everything you desire. Briony says we need to change from the inside out. Everything begins from the observer. There is only matter, which there is only seen by the observer. You have limited beliefs. You learned or holding on from beliefs from the past. So in order to get, let's say, a creation, you need to develop, you need to educate yourself. The more abundance you feel inside, the more you create. Roy is talking about cannibalism. There is no flow. There are people who are just taking and taking, and we are wrongly programmed by the system. And a nice example of that is Africa. Success is more people are focused on themselves, and we are the consumers. And we need to stop blaming, start taking responsibility for our own attitude. So what he sees is bad health, bad relationship, a lot of censorship. And he's talking about we need to become more aware to be the change, because most people are talking about change but are not willing to take the extra mile. And the most important part is education. Education is the starting point to co-create what we are thriving. And the first step is to start with you. And as last Briony had an extra, start with your dream. Use the technique of quantum dreaming so you can feel with all your senses, because when it already exists, you will get there. You already start to feel the push, and you can choose a new destiny. So if there are any questions, please join us, raise your hand. Roy, you want to add something?
Yes, absolutely. The idea of co-creation, the idea of co-dreaming is what will elevate and change everything on this planet. So in that sense, also working together with Briony is that we have this vision. Now, for people to understand a little bit more about quantum, it is a law that anything your heart desires already exists. Now, the whole thing is your energy strong enough? And can you become the person living in that reality? So you need to change the frequencies of who you are. So let's say I can say, I'm going to wait till I make a few millions, then I'm going to give back something, or I can start now being to change and start giving back right now. So that's the difference. So a lot of people think, okay, first I'm going to make money and then I'm going to do that. That's one thing. The second thing is that most people are very egocentric when they're creating the dreams. It's all about them. But the greatest satisfaction in life doesn't come from how much money you have. The greatest satisfaction in life comes from how big is the difference you can make, how big is your legacy you're leaving behind. And I think that everyone can do their bit. It doesn't have to be something big. You don't have to immediately say, go save the planet. But even in daily encounters with people, you can already be that, yeah, I would say that beacon of hope, that beacon of light, that beacon of love. And when we focus on that, to be that person that's making the difference, then we are sending out a different frequency into the planet. And when we deal with a lot of entrepreneurs, they are focused, okay, how much money I'm going to make in what time? And I want to make this goal right now. Next year I'm going to do more, make more money. That's the common, I would say, cannibalism that we are suffering from. So instead of saying, okay, how can I make money in a way that is good for the planet, in a way that I can give back? How many people can I give a chance this year to co-create something? And so there's this whole attitude that we have about money, about the planet, about ourselves needs to change to a consciousness level. When we look at it from a spiritual standpoint of view, it is not, it is should be bigger than ourselves. It's no longer, just me being happy. If it's just about me, I can stop tomorrow. I don't need to be doing this stuff. I can just retire, have a good time, and I play with dogs and babies and God knows what. But that's not good enough. That's not satisfaction. I'm a revolutionary. I'm I would say a rebel. I need to be out there. I want to wake up people, and it's so hard to see what's happening now in COVID-19. How many people are really believing that there is a crisis? How many people are really believing that people are dying from COVID-19? It's just a joke to see that. And yes, there are people dying, but the numbers are not right. And we're not going to talk about COVID per se, but I want you to open your eyes, do your research, no longer be a consumer of the big media who will do everything that the advertisers pay them to do, and will have a conflict of interest to even speak the truth. And the journalists are no longer investigate journalists. They're just paid to, present the news in a certain way. So we all need to wake up. We all need to make the difference in our families, with our friends, and with strangers. That's how it all begins. It doesn't begin with having a business. It begins with you and what you do and how you stand in the world. That's what I would like to add.
Wow, thank you. So in short, you said, wake up people, do your research, make the difference, and it starts with you.
Okay.
Briony, how are you? You wanted to add something?
Yeah, I can, I agree, of course. Or I disagree, Roy. Maybe I better disagree for this time.
Disagree. I like it. Go for it.
Yeah.
So, what I felt for me, what was happening in this last year, maybe it's just some personal experience, was of course a certain moment, and you have all these emotions who are coming up, and you're angry about everything was happening, and you see all those videos. And also now, like here in my island too, they have lockdown, and you see how many people then really suffering and getting in poverty. And so many people don't have, it's some very painful to see. And then still I'm like working with myself. Okay, I can now go in feeling empathy with everybody, or it's not even empathy, it's pity. I have to be very honest in that. and wanting to help everybody, but at the same time, then I'm working with myself and I'm saying, okay, but what do I envision for everybody on this island? What do I want them to, how do I want them to prosper, to feel prosperous, and to find this this total potential in themselves. So every time I feel myself draining into a feeling of pity and oh, poor that or poor this, then I feel, okay, now change it, because everything is a reflection. And I know when I feel pity with somebody, it's a reflection of I feel pity with something inside of me. But I can also look at a person as a person which has the fullest potential in themselves to realize their full power, and who had now exactly these circumstances to awaken what has to awaken in that person. And even people being sick or whatever, if that's perfect what they have to experience to awaken, because that's the reason why we're here on this planet. It's to awaken ourselves. It's not, okay, we can choose to become the most rich person ever. We can choose to become, let's say, a hippie in forest. We can choose whatever, but whatever we do, it will eventually lead to a kind of awakening process, and we will all have our challenges for this awakening process in ourselves. And we can, of course, design the way how we would most preferably would have this awakening process. And it often then changes during the process because we don't have that under control. We have some ideas in mind, but there's often they change in the process. But anyway, everybody is here for a kind of awakening process and to create this higher potential in themselves. So the moment I feel, draining energy of pittiness and victimship, then I feel like, okay, change again your mindset, Briony, change again your state of mind. And how would it be if you envision that person in their most highest potential, most empowered ever? So, and then I feel my energy changing too. And I think that's whatever happens in life, it's how you look at it, and it's our challenge to create that most highest potential in ourselves, which we can imagine.
So you're saying is hold on to the vision, and the awakening process is a highway of challenges. Well, what kind of challenges are you referring to?
For myself or for the other persons?
Both.
Yeah, whatever you dream, you will attract then the challenges which resonate with that new personality you have to be in the future. So if you're dreaming of being a big leader and having a lot of people where you can influence and have an impact on, then you will create that challenges in your life to become that leader and to awaken that leadership skills in yourself. And of course, in the quantum field, everything is already finished. Nothing is new. So if we can dream it already exists. And that's very weird for us as a human being, because we think we are here now and we're stepping towards the future and you have a past. That's true too, but at another level, there's also the reality that time is relative. So this means that that everything, whatever you can imagine, is already a potential in the quantum field. So this means that if you start envisioning yourself to a certain, Roy calls it timeline, quantum timeline, then what happens is that you create this kind of challenges with matches, which challenges you to become that new leader, which fits that with the future or the dream that you imagine. And that's sometimes very challenging. And often only afterwards you see that you had such a growth process by it. But that's of course very easy said afterwards. The moment you're in the full challenges, then it's like, oh no, why does this happen to me again and again? That's because you dream, that's because we're dreamers, and we're part of this dream. So of course, and what is also very important, if we are feeling that we're in a rat race, always experience the same challenges again, then there's something inside of us, of course, we could change to step out of this wheel of perpetuum mobile and step into a new perpetuum mobile, because there are many wheels where we can step into.
Okay, I would like to add a few things just to change the direction a little bit as well. So we need to understand that when we start thinking about the future, we are always thinking from the limited beliefs that we have. So we want to create a new future, but we start with our limitations. So one of the first things that we need to learn is to start thinking unlimited. So we need to start not from what we know. We should start from our hearts. What is my true heart desires? One of the biggest problems that we see is that people who especially in NLP, they came with this whole thing about smart goals that needs to be realistic, all of that kind of stuff. No, goals don't need to be realistic. Goals can be totally unrealistic, even seem impossible. So, for example, if you had a woman on social welfare right now, and she has two children, do we see any realistic way for this woman to become a billionaire? And the answer would be 99.9999% no, because it is not in our, let's say, in our mind. It is not a possibility we see. But yet, this woman has a full potential. And if she would connect to the quantum field and get actionable information on the quantum field, she would go, and some people may call it quantum journey, quantum jumping, quantum travels, daydreaming, whatever it is. And let's say this woman comes with an idea. She goes to what we call the magical dimension, and she now is totally enchanted with the story. And then she starts writing, in a trance. She's just writing. She's maybe not even a writer. She's never wrote a book before. And she's writing and writing, writing, and all of a sudden it's finished. And then she has a book. And then she looked at this book, and then she puts a title on it, and she called it something with Harry Potter. She tried to publish it, and then publishers say no. And then finally she get a publisher that say yes. And so you know who I'm talking about, J.K. Rowling. She became a billionaire just tapping into the quantum field. And she's a prime example of what is possible. And we also have now one of the biggest visionaries in the world, and Elon Musk, you may like him or not, but he's also a visionary, and he's got his information out of the field that he wanted to make a difference. He wanted to force the car companies to go electric. We have examples of Nikola Tesla, Einstein, and it goes on and on. If we talk about the genius, most people believe that the genius is someone who studied very hard and understands complex things. That's not necessarily true. A genius is someone who can tap into the quantum field and come with actionable information that is useful. It is, and most people who are spiritual are getting information, which is great for themselves, be more loving, be more kind, all kind of stuff. But that's right now what we need is a change in our thinking. We need to step out of the, I would call small thinking, and just dare to dream, just dare to follow your heart's true desires, not to have a great life by itself, but to make a bigger difference than you thought is possible. So our goal, what Briony and I have, is to actually open people's mind to that unlimited perception of what's possible. So it's not about thinking, it is more about dreaming, and then find the how will come into dream. So I've been doing this for 10 years, and just maybe 2 months ago, I discovered the how. But I know where I want to go now, but where I want to go is not me wanting to go there. It's not my desire. It's something that appeals to me that I found in the quantum field. And I said, if nobody's going to do it, I'm going to do it. So once we open our minds fully, we become, let's say, the channel even for impossible dream. When we stop thinking into smart goals, realistic goals, but truly open ourselves, then I do not know what's not possible. And we see people also in our trainings, how they make quantum jumps. The business starts to explode, they make more money, they're happier, they have more free time, they're enjoying themselves anymore more, they start making a difference for others. And that's the kind of entrepreneurs that step by step will make the changes in this planet that we need in order to make it sustainable and in order to make it a co-creation where everybody has a role to play. And yeah, so I love the quantum stuff. It opened my mind even more. and I don't think big anymore. I just think impossible. Whatever's impossible, then I get excited. That's where the juice is in life, because that's where you also challenge yourself most. And so when something seems impossible, your brain is trying to figure out the how, but you don't need to worry about the how. You need to worry about who is that person, that future me that is living in that dream. And when you become that future person, then the dream has to come to you. That's the law of resonance. There's no other way. As Einstein said, it is not philosophy, it is science. And that's the law of resonance that is the most powerful law of the quantum science.
Yeah, well Roy, it sounds amazing, but at the same time, you talk about it's not about the how, but still, I am looking for the how, because it sounds great. Okay, be the future person, but still, I have a question like, and how do I get there?
Mhm.
How do you start?
Yes. Well, let's explain what we mean with the how. When you make a plan, let's say your plan is I want to make 100 million so I can give away 80 million, whatever. Let's say that's your plan. The first thing the brain does is wants to have a plan, a step-by-step plan. How do we get there? So give me a roadmap to that. That's what the brain really wants. And the more we are trained, the more precise it needs to be. Okay. So in quantum, it works the opposite. So it works in a more, the question is who am I in my personality, in how I think, how I feel when I've realized that dream. So the true how is not a business plan and a step-by-step plan. The true how is to really use yourself in the future as a role model for you to become in the now. So the more I become like my future self, that future will come to me. I don't need to worry about the details. I don't need to worry what shall I do today or tomorrow. My only purpose is to wake up in the morning and to imagine if today I'm going to be my future self. How would I think? How would I behave? How would I feel? What would I do differently? And once you become aware between where you are now and where you are in the future, then you have a feedback loop. So you can look at your behavior, you can look at how you think or what you feel, what you do, and then say, oh, I'm not in my power right now. I'm thinking like my old self. What do I need to change? Then you change your feelings, you change your thoughts, and you change the frequency and vibrations indirectly. You don't do that consciously by elevating your emotions. The most important thing is there's no place for emotions like frustration, impatience, anger, those kind of stuff. You want elevated emotions. Elevated emotions are bliss, happiness, joy, gratitude, giving back. That's where you want to be constantly. So when you're constantly in elevated emotions, you're emitting another frequency you're sending out. And I'm not talking about positive thinking. Positive thinking is just one aspect of it. It is feeling it in your body. It is walking, talking, like everything is already there, just like what Briony said. You're bringing the feelings of the future into you now. And today I was doing a new exercise of gratitude, because gratitude is an elevated emotion. And after my physical training, I was training with a buddy. I said, okay, now we're going to focus on being grateful for all the shit we didn't have. You see, most people are grateful for what they have, but what if you're grateful for the stuff that didn't happen? Let's say I don't have cancer, I don't have heart disease, I don't have dementia, I don't have a lot of things that I see around me. I felt so grateful that I'm so lucky. So when we feel lucky, or our, let's say our emotions are elevated, and the goal is to stay in those elevated emotions even when things bad are happening, you don't have the money or whatever. There's always enough things that you can focus on to shift your emotions into elevate emotions. And then you become this emitter of these frequencies, and then it becomes much easier to create the future that you desire. That's the how, in other words, to stay in that range of elevated emotions and to use that to go to that future and bring that future back into the now.
Yes, thank you. Very, very clear. Briony, what's your viewpoint on how do I
I can
start?
give an example from my own life. That's always nice.
We don't hear you. Your microphone
Ah,
is yes.
A fairy again?
yeah,
You can.
yeah.
You're back.
Now it was my own finger. So
A fairy finger.
yeah. Yeah, what I can give an example of my own experience last year. So last year, of course, as everybody experienced last year, we had this COVID thing which started, and the pandemic, and then all the countries reacting in fear, and the lockdown. So for me too, it was like, okay, what am I going to do? Because I give mostly offline trainings. So, and then you're stuck in that place where you have to reinvent what you do. So this means that I just started to surrendering what was happening and just started with working on online trainings. But not only that, I had the year before I had a breakup. And so I was still recovering a little bit from that. And I was like, okay, what do I now want in my life? What kind of partner I want in my life? So I started envisioning this every night before I go to sleep, every morning before I go to sleep. Yeah, this is a love story. I already to see Larissa laughing. It's nicer to have these love stories. So, and I was envisioning that I was walking at the ocean side, and I had this most supporting partner, and it looks very romantic with the sunset going down. And it felt like really nourishing, and I could have all my time to be creative. So I had this vision several times. So what happens then was, and I'm a big dreamer. Roy knows that too. I have big plans for the future, just like him. We really are both of us like, we want to redesign the whole society system, and we want to find systems how to do that. So I envisioned that this was happening. So I would really also have a partner who could support that, and who is like me, passionate about finance. So I envisioned that dream, and I was several times feeling that future. So what happened is that I met a partner through an online collaboration program for a project. And then in the beginning, I was not aware that this could be a potential partner. It was just for collaboration. But at a certain time, I feel more and more like safe with him and supported. And it became more and more. And eventually, during the whole COVID, still in October, I left to Trinidad and Tobago, and I'm still here. So it's going very well. So this is, and I could not have imagined 1 year ago that I would be living in Trinidad, Tobago, in a Caribbean islands. Of course, it could be a faraway dream, like, yeah, maybe that would be beautiful to do, but it was not a reality, and it was not really a realistic reality that moment. But at that moment, at a certain moment, I felt such a push to go. I could not, it was like this inner push, and I could not, everybody could reason with me, but I could not resist to go. I had to buy this ticket to go on a plane. I had to go there, even it was very difficult because you could only get with private jets in the island. But yeah, I had to do that. I had no choice. And sometimes, so you start dreaming, and then the how is also, then it takes over, and you have no choice. And even everybody can say it's crazy, but yeah, you just don't have a choice. Because you planted it as a seed, you planted this dream, and you then have to follow the energy that moment. And that's also a bit the how. No, the how would I even get to know such a person and then get here? There is no how to it. There is, at the moment it has to happen, it will happen.
Yeah, and that phenomena is called synchronicity. The universe works with synchronicity. What's the synchronicity? Synchronicity is that, that things that you didn't expect to happen but will bring you closer to where you want to go. I call it the opening of doors. You didn't even know there was a door. You meet a person, and that's just the person that can open the door for you. And then what is really funny about the story of Briony, all of a sudden, Briony is on a beautiful island, and I got a little bit jealous of her. I said, "Oh my God, I so wish to be there as well." But in my situation, it was a little bit different because my wife and my daughter decided they want to live in Salzburg, so we can give my daughter also some German education, and especially in COVID times, because America had stricter rules than Europe at the time. So we decided, okay, she's going to live in Europe. I'm going to go back and forth from America to Europe, as much as I could, and stay in a home. But then I think but my heart was so, let's say, in love with the idea what Briony had created, that I also think I started sending out these frequencies. And then just a couple of months later, just imagine maybe 2, 3 months later, now I'm living in Portugal near the coast. I can see the water. I go to the beach every day, just a 3, 4 minute walk. I meditate there. And I realized that through all kinds of synchronicity, I've created something similar to Briony. I'm living in a beautiful place for free, and I can even do retreats here, etc., etc. So that's synchronicity. We cannot plan everything. We cannot say, oh, I'm going to do this. I didn't work for it. I didn't, pay for it. It just came in a way that I couldn't have seen coming. And that synchronicity, just like what Briony was explaining, there was this yearning in her heart for a supportive relationship with someone who has similar values, similar goals. And so that's where the heart vibrates. And when we do not restrict that by our thinking, like say, oh, this is impossible, it's never going to happen. And that a lot of people believe into this whole concept of self-worth and value, which in my opinion is completely nonsense. There is not such thing as self-worth. And so once you let go of what you believe and you just really connect with what your heart wants, that's the first step in this whole process of creating. And then the second step is basically that it's something that you need to develop in some kind of routine. I would say, I think Briony and I both do the same. We every day we're focused on what is it that we are creating? What is the ideal world we want to live in? How do we want that world to be? And how can we make a contribution to that world? And that's why both of us are in this together. We found each other in our common ideals of what we want to do for this world. And just mind you, it's not about us. We can be happy without doing this. I mean, Briony is a beautiful island. She can be laying on the porch all day with pina coladas and having her feet massaged and that kind of stuff. But she wants to be out there to help entrepreneurs just like me. I want to be making a difference in that regard. And that's basically what we're doing, coaching people to really get into their power, to really understand nothing is truly impossible if you know how to connect with that dream and that future that your heart so desire.
Yeah, wow, an amazing, let's say, mission to get people into the power. We are talking about doing more in life effortless, growing your business without destroying the planet, and getting there, let's say, envision, keeping up the dream, following your heart, and do everything you want and do desire. So that we can do everything that we are, let's say, wanting to achieve. There are no limited, there is only unlimited beliefs. And Roy also talked about the cannibalism. There is no flow. People are just taking and taking, and we are wrongly programmed by the system. And we need to stop being focused on ourselves. And we need to stop blaming. We need to start taking responsibility for our own attitude. And then we can, let's say, make the change and not just talk about it, but do the extra mile. And the law is that everything you heart desire already exists. Start now. So this is in short, let's say, what we are talking about. I know Briony and Roy, you also have a great webinar. Can you tell the people that are listening, let's say, a little bit what they can learn if they join this free webinar?
Yeah, it's this one is a 3-day online training, and there, if you subscribe, you get more inspiration about how to create more freedom and fulfillment in your life. So it's the 3 keys. You get 3 keys how to design this for yourself, and we also give a special surfing the quantum waves visualization, which you can use to really create this future self where we were talking about your dreams, what you want to realize in your future.
It was
And
this was for free. Was this the free one?
this is for free, yeah, Roy, this is
Oh
a
my
free one. This is
Amazing.
totally for free, so this is true. So you can, if you subscribe at www.quantumpowertalk.com, and for the people who are Dutch, who are speaking Dutch, then you have .nl. So quantumpowertalk.nl, then you can subscribe for the 3 online training, but then in Dutch. So yeah, hopefully we see you there, and very happy that you're here. And for next episode, we have a new guest speaker, and it will be about how to create a thriving business office, or a thriving. So it's a, I'm not explaining it very well. I feel it's how to, because often when we see offices, we go to an office and we're often more drained with energy when we go out of it. And it's now, how could you create a place where you can work, where you really feel this effortless energy, and where you really feel that your energy is uplifting. So how do you do that, and how can you apply more quantum principles in that field too? And we have a special guest speaker for that, and it's an architect who works especially in that field. So we'll dive deeper into that, and every week we have a new guest speaker. We will give you some little information next week for that.
Wow, sounds great. Let's say that you, because after COVID and everybody starts getting back to the office, that we don't have to be drained, let's say, by the office environment, but that we can actually get energized and more focused and following our heart in the office. So it also means that we can maybe stop getting a burnout, but let's say more passionate about it.
You can also live at the ocean, like we are working. That's a possibility too. But even if you don't live at the ocean, there's plenty of possibilities to create a really fulfilled working environment for you. And Roy also have plenty of ideas and creative solutions for that. And there's so many also new technology we can assist you with that, support you with that. So yeah, we're going more into the practical side of that.
Yeah, we're living in different ways, in very, I would say, interesting times. Number one, what the world is going through right now. We have a lot of people are focusing on the COVID thing, but the world has bigger problems than the world itself. It is just whatever you want to see, the pollution, the global warming, the change of the climate, all those things. And if we don't act right now, we don't start acting, we don't really start, making, ways with our wallet and making choices, then, let's say a country in itself will depend on the people all making the contribution. And I think that that's also part of what we're talking about, to really see what can I do to make the difference. And this is where most people get stuck into little me. They think, okay, I'm just one person, and then who am I to do that? Well, if everybody thinks like that, nothing happens. So but if everybody starts making that difference, and it starts with just becoming more aware who you are and who you want to be and what you want to do, then the shift will start happening quicker. We're living in a spiritual time that's called the Aquarius time. And the most typical thing of Aquarius is that we are letting behind us the Pisces time. And the Pisces time was a time of hard work, karma, mea culpa, all that kind of stuff. The patriarchism would have destroyed this planet. And now we need to move more into the feminine energy, the energy of intuition, the energy of caring, the energy of giving back. That is what's typical for our time right now. And it's also an enormous important time for female leadership, that the women need to step into their power, find their power, and start to stand up, to be the voices also for who they are, what they stand for, and also to deal with other like-minded people, because it is the women right now that have the power to really change also how they treat their children, what kind of, let's say, beliefs they pass on to the children, and all of that. So we should never get into the blaming game and say it was this or that, but we should get into what can we do now for the future. Let's leave the past for what it is, and let's step into our own powers and start making a difference all around us. That I think is the great message that we want to bring here for anyone who's ready for that message. And this channel here, what we call the Quantum Power Talk, that's where we want to share more of what we know about the quantum, the things that we do that will facilitate for everyone to create that life that they want, the lifestyle that they want. Because it's not as complicated as you think it is. It is, in fact, really simple, but it requires you to dedicate your time. You need to have a ritual, a kind of a process you do every day in order to stay connected to the most desirable future that you're going for.
I would say these are beautiful words to end off this conversation. Let's say, what can I do to make a difference? Stop thinking small and become more aware of your own potential, because your own potential is infinite. You can do everything you want. So thank you, Roy. Thank you, Briony. I love to hear from you again next week, when we're going to talk about the architect and all of that. And for the people who are still interested, check out the website of quantumpowertalk.com or quantumpowertalk.nl to get a free webinar, so you can get more insights on this amazing topic and how to reach everything that you want in life.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, moderating again, Larissa. I love it. Thank you so much for you.
Thank you very much, Larissa, for organizing this, and we're happy to co-create and create much more.
Yes, we will. So thank you, listeners. We hope, and viewers, we hope to see you or hear from you next week. If you have questions, you can also send them to me, like on mail@larissaspotlight.com. Then I will treat your questions in the next episode. So bye-bye, and I wish you a great, great evening. Bye.
Bye-bye.